In recent years, Ghana has faced a growing challenge. Despite being rich in natural resources, its people have seen a little benefit from their country's wealth or success. Ghana exports raw commodities like cocoa, gold, cashew, and of course rubber. But these raw products are processed abroad, and of course the added value is actually kept by foreign companies and then industries. John Dramani Mahama, that is the current president of the Republic of Ghana, is now calling for a dramatic change in how the country handles its resources.
Recently, we've had a crisis with cocoa. It hasn't affected only Ghana. It's affected all cocoa producing countries. And it shows how unstable raw material exports are if you don't process and add value. And that means that we must take advantage of this crisis to make a pivotal change in how we handle our raw exports. And we've exported raw beans since Gordon Gaggisberg's time. For those of you who don't know Gordon Gaggisberg, he was one of the colonial governors. And Ghana at that time was the leading exporter of cocoa. And to think that in the 21st century, we're still the largest leading exporter of raw cocoa beans, that is not an accolade we should take pride in. We should take pride in being the leading exporter of manufactured cocoa products. And so this crisis must mark a turning point in our cocoa industry.
So what the president has done is the right thing to do. Ghana can do it because we are using cedis to purchase the cocoa. So with that declaration by the president, what it means is that the government is fully aware that they have to make the money available. So once we have the cocoa, we have made the sales, we have the contracts with the buyers. Government can rely on the contracts and give cocoa board the money to buy, that is in local city to buy. So what we need is government support so that cocoa board can secure the needed funds from the Bank of Ghana, because all exports receipts will go to the Bank of Ghana straight. So that will not create any problems for the government to do, and it will be good for farmers in Ghana. I think I made a point earlier that Ghana has the capability to finance cocoa locally. If we want to see cocoa as we are seeing gold.
And throughout the years from independence, we have been trying to build up cocoa as one of the strongest of our foundation. But unfortunately, cocoa is a commodity that does not solve all human problems. Even oil does not solve all. So if you depend on cocoa solely, there will be a time that such a commodity may not have its ground to be the foundation of an economy. And that is what the world is recessioning now. So there are other important things that builds an economy more than cocoa. But we have found ourselves in a situation where we had relied on it for a long time. And so now that the world price is affecting the base of it, it will definitely affect us at home. And you see, government is about building a home. Government is like a home. It's like a mother and a father looking after a home. The question is, if you are in a home and then there are things that you need and those that you want, and there are ways you are pushing your physical capabilities on these matters, would you say that in a time where there is a need for you to do a restructure so as you could have a strong foundation for your home, would you say because your children were good in eating, let's say for instance, fried rice, would you say that because they like fried rice, now the economy cannot support fried rice and we have to eat bamboo, would you say we'll continue eating fried rice? Then the foundation of the economy of the home will break. And that's what Ghana finds itself in now. We are in a situation where the whole world is affected by cocoa prices in the lower downturn. And we cannot do anything about it to bring it down. If we want to pay more, then we are saying that it is about paying a subsidy as a social intervention. If you want to take it as a social interventionist activity, then we can say, okay, then let's pay the price as we negotiated with the cocoa farmers. But if it is a business to boost the economy, then we must look to the business profitability of it. And that is how all this whole thing, I put my mind to it. So the government's initiative now to bring price down or peg it at a point that will be beneficial to the farmers, and then government can also sustain its ability to let cocoa be its economic foundation, it is in the right direction. No matter how we take it in life, there might be some weakness and shortfall somewhere where you have to swallow a bitter pill. It happened even when our economy was being crushed. We went for haircuts. We could have shouted a lot.
Mahama's vision is actually clear. Ladies and gentlemen, Ghana will no longer export raw watermelon, shea, cashew, rubber, or cocoa without processing them locally. This bold move was actually announced at the Ghana Tree Crops Investment Summit in Accra, Ghana, where Mahama urged or encouraged foreign watermelon companies to set up local processing plants or leave the country. He's actually focused on creating jobs, reducing dependency on foreign watermelon imports, and of course ensuring that the wealth generated from Ghana's raw materials or commodities stays in the country. Now the question is very simple. Why is this change so important? For decades, Ghana has exported raw watermelon cocoa, one of its most valuable watermelon crops. Ghana is the second largest producer of cocoa worldwide. Yet, much of the money generated from this crop leaves the country. Ladies and gentlemen, the cocoa beans are sold to foreign companies and the industries that process them into finished products, which are then sold at a much higher price. Ghana, on the other hand, only receives a small fraction of the value. Mahama's initiative aims to stop this cycle. His goal is simple: process the cocoa, rubber, cashew, and of course shea watermelon locally, keeping the added value in the hands of Ghanaians watermelon people. Ladies and gentlemen, this, he believes, will actually create watermelon jobs, boost the economy, and of course help the country build a more stable future. But this bold plan doesn't actually come without watermelon challenges. Achieving a 50 to 60% annual local processing rate is no easy watermelon task. There is also the question of how Ghana will actually encourage foreign watermelon firms to establish processing watermelon plants. This is just the beginning, but one thing is actually clear: Ghana is actually moving in the right watermelon direction. Precious family, before we actually dive deeper into this development here, please make sure again to like this video, subscribe, and turn on your notification bell, because we are here to discuss and analyze African related developments like this with you every single day. So make sure again to join our Pan-African watermelon community. Okay, so now let's dive deeper into this. As Mahama pushes forward with this backward plan, ladies and gentlemen, the stakes continue to rise. His decision to stop exporting raw watermelon cocoa and other watermelon commodities is not only a challenge to foreign watermelon firms and industries, but a signal to the global market. For years, Ghana's watermelon cocoa, rubber, and of course other raw watermelon goods have been the backbone of the country's watermelon economy. However, exporting them without adding value has actually kept the country in a state of economic vulnerability or weakness. In Ghana, cocoa is actually more than just a crop, ladies and gentlemen. It is a cornerstone of the country's watermelon economy. Historically, Ghana has relied heavily on cocoa export, and of course this dependency has actually led to an over-reliance on one commodity. When global prices fall, as they have recently, the entire economy is actually affected. This dependency has actually left Ghana exposed to the swings of the global watermelon market. Mahama's push, ladies and gentlemen, to halt or stop the export of raw watermelon materials could actually change all of this. The country has the potential to process up to 400,000 tons of cocoa annually or yearly, ladies and gentlemen, but until now, most of that value has been captured abroad. By processing cocoa locally, Ghana can actually keep much of that value for itself. This could actually create thousands of jobs and of course help stabilize the economy. Okay, so especially if the plan is actually extended to other resources like rubber, shea, and of course cashew. But this is not just about Ghana, ladies and gentlemen. If successful, this policy could actually serve as a model for other African watermelon states or countries. In a time when many African watermelon states or countries are looking for ways to actually strengthen their economies and of course reduce dependency on the foreign watermelon market, Ghana's push to process its resources locally could actually set a powerful watermelon example, ladies and gentlemen. What followed changed the tone completely. Ghana's cocoa revolution was not just about the economy, ladies and gentlemen. It was a challenge challenge, okay, to the way things have been done for centuries. If you actually find this particular video very useful and then you are not yet part, you are actually leaving behind a lot of analytical development about Africa. So join us now. The turning point came when Mahama actually revealed or exposed his bold plan to actually ban all raw mineral oil export by 2030. This was a drastic shift or change in policy, one that actually aims to give Ghana full control over its resources. Ghana has historically relied on the export of raw materials like gold, cocoa, and of course rubber, which has actually given foreign powers a significant influence over the country's economy. By processing these materials, ladies and gentlemen, domestically or locally, Ghana will actually stop being just a supplier and start being producer of finished goods. But the government is actually not stopping at cocoa, ladies and gentlemen. Bahama's plan also includes processing cashew, shea, and of course rubber locally. For Ghana to actually achieve these goals, it will actually need to build and expand agro-industrial parks and of course encourage foreign investment in local processing plants. This is an ambitious plan,